Hey there, Jonny May here, and welcome to this lesson where I'm going to show you how to get started playing gospel piano. You're going to learn one of the most important gospel chord progressions, how to groove on this progression. I'm going to show you a very important gospel technique, which I call the slip 2 technique, which will give you the authentic gospel sound. I'll show you how to color your chords to make them sound really cool and crunchy. Plus, I'm going to show you how to improvise in the right hand. So if you are new to the gospel style, this is the lesson for you. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so I'm going to show you the 6 steps to playing gospel piano, and be sure to stick around to the end because I'm going to show you this sweet little bonus chord that you can throw into your chord progression, plus some amazing little improvisation techniques you can use in the right hand. All right, step number 1 is to start with a very common chord progression used in modern gospel tunes. And a very common chord progression is what's called the 1, 6, 4, 5 chord progression. It's basically C major, then we go to A minor, and then the 4 chord, this is an F major, and then we have the G major. Now this sounds fine, but it doesn't really sound like authentic gospel music. So we want to add a little spice to this, which I'm going to show you next in step number 2. But before we do this, if you're enjoying the video, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe for more videos just like this. All right, in step number 2, we're going to spice up this chord progression a little bit, and we're going to add what are called passing chords. And passing chords are some chords that we can add to our chord progression, and this is a very common technique in the gospel style. Check out what it's going to sound like. So this is actually a very simple technique, and the way it works is that, let's say I'm going to a chord like A minor. Well, in front of the A minor, I can add a little passing chord, E major. Okay? And the way this works is it's a 5 chord of the next chord that I'm going to. So if I'm going to an A, I just go up 5 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I build an E major chord. And so the E major kind of leads to the A minor chord. And so we can do this on all of our chords. C major, E major leads to A minor, and then we're going to go to F. Well, what's the 5 chord of F? Well, it's a C major. That's the 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That gets us to F. And then we're going to go back to C, but let's go to the 5 chord of C. Well, that's a G major. And then we're back to C. And then we'll throw in one more G major. This kind of turns the progression back around to the beginning. Now you might be thinking, Jonny, this sounds great, but the chords still sound really basic. And so this is the next step. Let's make our chords sound a little bit more interesting. And we're going to use a very cool technique called sevenths, which sound like this. Chords are starting to sound a lot more interesting. So what am I doing? Well, I'm basically adding one note to each chord, which we call the 7th. It's a very simple idea. So if we take our C major and we go up basically a 3rd interval from the G, we add that B. This is called a C major 7 chord, and it's actually a really beautiful chord. We use this a lot in gospel music. So the next chord, E major, let's add the 7th. That's the D. It's up a 3rd interval from the B, okay? And it has more of kind of a bluesy sound, okay? A minor, let's add the 7th. It's up a 3rd interval. There it is, the G. And this is a really hip chord if you kind of change the order of the notes, okay? Now on the C chord, we're going to do what's called a C dominant 7. And on this chord, we're going to use a B flat, okay? This makes it a C dominant 7 chord. It's a really nice chord that leads it to the F major chord, which is next here. We're going to add the 7th. That's going to be your E natural. This is called an F major 7. And then on the G7, we're going to add the 7th. Once again, it's just a white note. And then back to our C major. And then finally our G7. This kind of turns the progression back around. Now in practice, when you're playing gospel music, you're not going to usually play the chords in root position like this. You're going to spread the notes out. So this brings us to our next step, spreading the chord out. And it's actually a very simple idea. Basically, we're going to take the notes of each of our chords, like a C major 7, and we're going to spread them out so they sound a little bit more interesting, okay? So all I'm doing is I'm taking the notes of the chord, I'm adding them to my right hand, and the real key here is that you want to play the notes of your chord beyond kind of an octave, okay? So nice little spread sound. E7, really nice sound. Notice I'm dropping it down below. I've got the root and the 7th, and then I'm grabbing some notes from the chord, okay? Again, if you don't remember the chord, E7, there it is, and we're just spreading the notes out, okay? A minor, ooh, doesn't that sound nice? Okay, it's an A minor 7. Just spreading the notes of the chord out. There's the original chord. There's our C7, really nice, spreading it out. It's also really nice to play kind of a 5th interval on the bottom. It gives it a nice kind of beefy sound. It's a nice little foundation. F major, really beautiful. There's our F major 7. Our G7, just spreading it out like this. And then our C major 7, sounding really nice. Again, there's our basic chord. Here it is with the spread, and then our G7, just like that. By the way, if you want to do a deep dive on these 7th chords, you want to learn them in all 12 keys, you want to learn some great exercises to practice them, how to apply them to tunes, check out our courses on 7th chords. I'll put a link to those below. All right, you are ready for what I think is the most important technique to playing modern gospel music, and this is what I call the slip 2 technique, and you may have heard me playing it at the beginning of this video. Sound amazing, and this technique is actually not very hard to play. So what I'm doing is when I play a chord like my C major chord, I'm going to do a little slip off the D, okay? This is the 2nd note of a C major chord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I call this a slip 2 because you're slipping off that 2 up to the 3. Okay? Now in this case, we're going to use the 7th on the bottom. So initially, we're going to grab here and then slip up to the 3rd, okay? So give that technique a try. Absolutely love this sound. And you can do this on your other chords like A minor. Okay? I'm basically slipping up from the B up to the C. Okay? And again, this comes from our A minor chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm slipping up from the 2 to the 3, and again, we're using the 7th on the bottom, so there's the slip. You see that? And you can do the same thing on the F chord. Okay? Basically, I'm doing the grab here on the G, and I'm slipping up to the 3rd, which is the A. Okay? And again, you can tell if you go back to your F major 7 chord, right? 1, 2, 3. So I'm slipping up to the 3rd, starting with the F major 7 chord and sliding into it. So if you were to apply this idea to the chord progression, you could start on your C major chord to our E, then our A minor with the slip note, our C7, then our F with the slip note, then our G, and then back to our C with a slip note, and then back to our G. Now you might be thinking, Johnny, that sounds great, but what about those super crunchy chords that you played at the beginning of the video? Okay? These are basically altered chords where I'm adding some notes to the chord to make them sound amazing. I call these the money notes, and it's actually a really simple technique. So I'm going to go chord by chord and show you how I do this. The first chord we're going to alter is our E7 chord, and instead of playing it like this, we're going to play it like this. Okay, really, really cool, crunchy chord. And the name of this chord, it's called an E7 chord, but we're adding 2 amazing notes to this chord, the F natural and the D flat. And what this does is it turns it into an altered dominant chord. The technical name for this chord is called an E13. That's the 13 with a flat 9, okay? But if you don't know the names of all of these chords, don't let that overwhelm you. It will make sense over time. But there's a cool little trick to remembering this chord, and it's actually just like a D flat major chord that you can play in the right hand with an E7 in the left hand. And so what I'm doing is I'm playing that D flat major chord here, I'm putting the root and the 7th of the E7 chord, I have the 3rd there, and you get that kind of cool crunchy sound. The next crunchy chord is the one that comes after your A minor, and for this one, we're gonna play a really crunchy C9 chord, okay? It's like a C7 chord, except we're adding a note to it, which is the 9, this is the D, and it gives it kind of a jazzy, kind of gospel sound, and once again, we're kind of spreading the notes out. All right, the last crunchy chord you're gonna learn is on the G chord. So after you play the F, notice that I'm playing this other chord. It sort of looks like a G7, but I'm altering a few of the notes to make it sound really cool. So basically a G7 looks like this, but we're gonna alter it. We're gonna take that 3rd, move it up to a C. This is called a suspended note, a sus4, and then I'm gonna add a 9, which is the A, okay? So we're taking that G7, making it way more interesting, and I'm just kind of spreading the notes out. I'm moving them down here like this. All right, in this final step, we're gonna put it all together, but don't go yet because I still wanna show you that bonus chord that you can throw into this chord progression, plus some cool little improv tricks in the right hand. All right, let's put all the pieces together. We're gonna start with that slip 2 on the C. Let's go to that crunchy E7. Ah, that sounds amazing. Now let's do the slip note on the A minor. Let's go to that C9 chord. Sounds awesome. And let's do the slip note on the F. And then our G chord, it's the G9 sus4. And then we're gonna go back to our C chord, but for this one, we're gonna slip up to the 3rd from the D like that. And then we'll go back to our G chord like this. All right, let's play this with the included backing track. And by the way, this lesson comes with 3 downloadable backing tracks. Plus, you can download the lesson sheet music you're seeing up here on the top left of your screen. And you can change the key of this entire lesson with the click of one button with our smart sheet music. So I'll put a link to all of that below, and let's play with the track. Here we go. Alright, it is time for the bonus chord, and when you get to the end of this chord progression, instead of playing your G chord like this, you can actually play it like this. Doesn't that sound amazing? This is a very hip way of playing a G7 chord. I have the F, I have a B flat, I have a B, an E flat, and a G, okay? And if you jump up from the G on the bottom and grab the chord, sounds really cool. The name of this chord is called a G7 flat 13 sharp 9. Basically, we're just adding some chord alterations to this chord to make it sound kind of crunchy. The last thing I want to mention is that if you want to improvise over this chord progression in your right hand, you can use a really cool scale called the major blues scale. It's only 6 notes, and here they are. We have C, we have D, D sharp, thumb under to E, G, and A. Okay, and then if you wanted to continue up the piano, you'd put the thumb on C and continue like this. And the amazing thing with this scale is that you can use it over all of the chords. So let's try this all together. Let's play that bonus chord plus some improvisation in the right hand with this major blues scale over the included backing track. Here we go. A minor, F major, back to the C, and let's improvise. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the lesson, please let me know in the comments. Also, be sure to check out pianowithjonny.com. We have over 1,000 step-by-step lessons for all playing levels where you'll learn your favorite songs, styles, and how to improvise at the piano. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.